Hello, I am Prabhu from Nexus. In this video, we will see about excelenium and how to use it. Excelenium is an open source tool that allows you to write automation scripts for your web applications using spreadsheets. It is written in Java and uses Selenium to run the automation scripts. It is a self-contained executable jar file and does not require any other dependencies except for the browser drivers that Selenium requires to run the scripts and the browsers themselves. It provides an out-of-the-box web UI that provides a spreadsheet view for you to create your automation scripts, and you can add as many scripts as you want in a single suite so that you can modularize your test case scenarios into different scripts, and each of them can be put under a single suite. Of course, as it is written in Java, it requires a minimum of Java 8 to run excelenium, and it supports all the major browsers. That includes Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Safari, and Opera. Of course, Safari is supported only on a Mac and not in any other operating system. So let's take a quick look at it. To run excelenium, either you could pull out from the Git repository in GitHub and build excelenium yourself using Maven, or you could directly download the self-executable jar file from the releases page and run it in command line without any dependencies. So now let's quickly see how to run excelenium. As mentioned earlier, it is a self-executable jar file, so it will have to trigger it using the command line using the following command: java-jar, then the path to the self-contained jar, excelenium jar. Excelenium is actually a Spring Boot application. So once Spring Boot loads its context, it automatically opens the home page or the excelenium's landing page, which is localhost:8080. It opens the home page of excelenium in the browser automatically as soon as Spring loads its context. Now, if you see, once Spring has loaded and automatically the page is open. Now, once excelenium home page is open, excelenium provides two options. One, either you could load an existing suite and run your tests. An existing suite is nothing but a JSON file that has all the actions put up in within a particular suite. And you have an option to create the entire suite right from the scratch. Now let us quickly see how excelenium works by loading a sample that is found in the sample directory that you can pull it out from the repository. Once you load the suite, it shows the scripts tab that has the list of scripts that are available in the suite. As I told you earlier, you could modularize your scripts, say for each page in your web application. The scripts are actually executed in the sequential order as they appear in the scripts tab. So first if you're testing an e-commerce application where you go to the landing page and then you go to the product page and so on, you could write test scripts, each individual scripts for each page that you're going to test. And here the run is selected by default because the test script will each script that you create is assumed that should be run in the suite. And if you don't want a particular script to run at any point in time, you can just uncheck and then save before running it. So the stop on error is a flag that you set when you don't want the test suite to continue if this particular script encounters any error. So now let us move on to the script tab. Here in this suite, we just have one script, but you can have as many scripts as you want. In this test script, you see a set of actions. It provides you a spreadsheet view where you fill in all the actions that you test for a particular page. But before this set of actions execute, Excelenium needs to know where it has to start. So that is provided in the settings. So when you click on a new suite, this is the first dialog that you will have to fill in before you continue creating other scripts. Now that we have loaded, all these settings are already loaded. So the suite name is the entire test suite name that we are going to create. And the server URL is where Excelenium will start running the tests. So this is the server URL, and in this particular case, we are testing Excelenium itself. So the server URL is going to be localhost:8080. And below that, we have the list of browsers that Excelenium supports. And you can run the test suite that you create on these browsers that you have checked. So whenever you check the browser that you want to run the suite on, you will have to provide the appropriate WebDriver path. In case of Mozilla Firefox, it is going to be the Gecko driver, and you have to provide the path to the Gecko driver exe. If it is Chrome, it is going to be Chrome driver exe. And you can choose all of the browsers that are available out here, except for Safari, which is only for the Mac platform. And beneath that, you have this user agent. The user agent is to actually spoof any custom user agent that you want Selenium to send to your web server while testing this web application. And run browsers currently we'll see later, or what it exactly does is that it starts all the browsers at the same time. By default, Excelenium runs each browser sequentially. First it runs Chrome and then Firefox, then Edge if selected. So based on the selection, it runs those browsers sequentially. But when you click on this run browsers concurrently, it starts up all the browsers, and each browser has a separate log file of the actions that are performed in the suite. So once this is filled, this is the starting point for Excelenium. It requires all these settings for the tests of the suite to run correctly. Here in this script, each row represents an action that you want to perform on a particular page. The first two columns, run and stop on error, is similar to one we saw on the scripts tab. So this indicates whether you want to run this particular action. If this particular column, if the run column is checked, then the action is performed. And stop on error indicates whether you want to stop the entire suite if an error occurs in performing the action that has been specified. Each action requires an action name. Make it unique and identifiable, because if an error message occurs, it should be easy for you to actually It is a free form text. You can type in whatever you want, but make sure that you provide something unique so that you can easily identify if something goes wrong in your test scenario. And this type is the type of action that you want to perform on a particular element. So Excelenium provides close to 40 different actions that you can perform on an element. And the next column is element ID or XPath. Here you will have to either specify the element ID which is going to be unique across the DOM, or you can specify an XPath. You can pull out an XPath by inspecting the element. For example, if I want to take the XPath of this user agent text, I could just do inspect and then click on the element, right click on the element, and then you just do copy XPath. This will give you the XPath that is needed for that particular element. Your browser automatically provides the XPath details that you can just copy paste out here on the element ID column. Element ID, if you can find it out unique, uh, an ID that is unique for that particular element, it will be well and great and is more efficient compared to using the XPath. But there might be cases where not every element might have a unique ID. So in that cases, you can definitely use an XPath to actually go to that particular element or to perform the action on that particular element. So what we are testing, this script actually what it does is it loads excelenium and then clicks on new and then fills in the different values, suite name, server URL, and then it clicks on Firefox and enters in the driver path, and then it just saves. This is the option that this script performs. In addition to that, it also verifies the browser's text. If the element uh, that holds this text is actually holding the text called browsers, and it also verifies if there is a user agent element that is available in the DOM, and also to see if the run browsers concurrently element is actually visible. So it performs the additional tests and finally it clicks the save button. So here for each of those actions, each action, though it is a common spreadsheet that is available, each action has a requirement where it pulls out values from these different columns. You can check the manual to see what action requires what values to be filled. Say for example, a click action just requires the element ID alone. Element value, attribute name, attribute value are not actually is going to be ignored. Likewise, this pre-process is where you want to perform an action, perform some action like adding an attribute or removing an attribute from that particular element before this click is performed. So the pre-process is where you want to do some action prior to this action being performed. And in the case of fill suite, you see that it expects a TB, an element ID and an element value, the value that needs to be filled for the text box. However, for verified browser, I mean, a verified text action, what it expects is that it expects an element ID and an element value, and it also expects an attribute or an index where it could either be starts with or ends with or contains and so on. So there are different directives that each action requires. So please check the manual to see how to, what each action requires. So when you save, once the suite is actually prepared, when you save, Excelenium validates each of these actions along with all the parameters that might be required for the action. Say for example, if I just remove the starts with and try to save, it validates and says validation is not successful, and it displays an error message in a separate dialog. If you close this dialog, you can click on this errors button to bring back the dialog, and it says which particular test name is actually causing the problem. Here it says element name, element value, and attribute name fields cannot be empty. So in this case, as I've removed starts with, it has detected that that particular action is not valid because it doesn't have the required input. So I'm reinstating the starts with directive back, and when I save it, everything gets successful. Now we can just run this suite by either clicking on run or pressing Ctrl Q. When I click on run, it starts the browser. You could see that in the command line where it starts the Firefox browser as intended. We wanted to run the test in the Firefox browser, and it has started the browser, and it will load the Selenium UI. It's now clicking create new, and it is filling the appropriate values, and it has also tested whether the elements have been present in verified text where you saw the highlights. And once the test complete, it will automatically close the browser, and it will also log whatever tests that have been run for that particular suite. Each browser has a separate log entry, and here in the log entry it displays how much time each test took, each action took, and finally it also prints the total number of milliseconds that it took to run the entire suite. So this includes starting the browser and then loading up the page and so on. So this is how Excelenium works. So this is very simple, where you don't need to know any programming knowledge or knowledge of JUnit or Selenium to actually run your web application automation tests. Everything can be run from within the browser. So with that, we come to the end. I hope this video provides a good detail about how Excelenium makes it easy for you to write your web application automation tests. If there are any questions or issues that you found, please post on GitHub. Thank you.